Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Koster. Good afternoon. I'm the Adobe Customer Success Manager for the University of Florida, and my role really is to support the campus's use of Adobe technology to ensure that you get the most value out of your investment, right? And so in that case, the university through UFIT and Adobe just renewed a 3-year contract, an enterprise license agreement. Now, obviously, IT is going to set pricing internally for faculty, staff, labs, as well as for students. But the campus is fully covered for Creative Cloud. Now, what I'm here today to show you are some of the tools I think that might be beneficial for you in the development of your instructional content, perhaps for use by your students for assignments in the various classes they have. And so with that, this is a speed dating session, so I don't have a lot of time to cover things, and I may not have a lot of time to talk to you after the fact. So I have business cards up here if you want to explore more about what we cover during this session. I'd love to have a conversation with you and obviously build great relationships here on campus. So with that, I'm starting here on Google because I want to reference a quick little search term I have here, Adobe Mobile Applications, or Adobe Mobile Apps is what I typed in. And if you'll notice here, I got search results. The second one here talks about Adobe Mobile, iPhone, iPad, Android apps, Adobe Creative Cloud. This is the link you're going to want to go to. I don't want you to have to memorize this long URL, but if you do a search for Adobe Mobile apps, this is going to take you to a landing page that will look like this, right, which talks about our mobile applications. Now, just in full disclosure, all of our mobile applications are available on Android devices as well as iOS devices. All right, and they're also free. Oh, I'd like to hear that. Now, there's additional functionality if you have a Creative Cloud license with services, which is available through UFIT, where in terms of workflow and from mobile to desktop types of collaboration that you can do. At a very high level, I just want to show you the categories of mobile apps we have. I'm not going to have a lot of time to take you through all of these, but it kind of encompasses all the various areas of digital creation that we have on our desktop side. So something here called Adobe Capture. It gives you the ability to kind of capture the raw materials from the real world that you would use in your various types of projects. So think about things like color swatches, patterns, brushes, even shapes. I can't draw to save my life, but I can take a photo of something and have it create a vector outline around that. Now I have an icon or a graphic I can use for a presentation or some sort of project I'm working on. We have tools that are more for like free-form design and for illustration. We even have a very lightweight layout application called Comp, and this is really great for kind of prototyping a layout for any type of project, and then I can bring that right into InDesign and kind of flesh it out with more capabilities. So part of the idea behind these applications is to bring the capability of our desktop apps to your mobile devices so you can create on the go. But these are also the starting point in a lot of cases for projects you want to work on, or at least elements of projects you may want to work on. All right. So, and then with Creative Cloud, you can then take what you've created on the mobile and bring it into the desktop applications for further capability. I'm going to quickly scroll down here to the bottom. Another example of that is around working with images. Not all your images will look good, all right, or look well, depending on if it's if they're sick. All right, so we have Photoshop Mix and Fix, bringing the capabilities of Photoshop to your mobile device. Now, what I'm here to focus on today, though, primarily, are our visual storytelling tools. And a lot of you may have heard about Adobe Spark. Some of you may be actually using this as a tool yourself. Spark is really about creating compelling online content in a very short amount of time without kind of the overhead of learning very sophisticated professional tools. And the ability to do so in a variety of formats. So we have basically 3 formats under the Spark branding here. Spark Page, which is about kind of creating a magazine type web experience, a web page experience that is both dynamic. In other words, it's not static. Things move around and you have parallax effects, and so it creates some visual engagement as someone's kind of scrolling through the content that you've given them. But also it's responsive, meaning that I create once and you can view it on any screen and it's going to look great, right? So that's very important because more and more people are using their devices to consume, right, besides the desktop. We have Spark Post. Think of this as a very lightweight graphic design tool where I can kind of combine a background image, one or more text elements, as well as some graphics to create compelling images, right? And primarily it's focused on creating social graphics, but you can use this for all sorts of different types of projects where you want to combine images, text, and graphics all into a kind of a single layered experience. And then lastly, Spark Video is about creating animated, narrated presentations that either would accompany you where you're doing something synchronously in the classroom, or maybe delivered as a asynchronous learning object to kind of set up the next lesson plan, or to explain a concept, or maybe even to pitch an idea for a research project or grant you're trying to apply for. Okay? Now, instead of just talking about all these tools, I want to actually show you a few examples of them and how they work. So let's start with Spark Post. Just to kind of set the context for how you'd use this, you don't start from a blank page. That's very painful for anybody to start from a blank sheet. So you literally have all sorts of very compelling designs that you kind of you can scroll through and choose from. And then once you have one that kind of mirrors maybe what you want to use for impact, then you go in and you transform the content, change the background, change the text. You have all kinds of design options in terms of the font, the color, filters you can apply to the images. This is really about just catching people's attention, primarily on social media, but also for any kind of use for your images that you would want. And then you go in and you have all sorts of drag and drop, and it's doing all the heavy lifting for the design in terms of the spacing and the reformatting. It's really kind of just giving you a lot of design guidance there. All right, and then you can customize the design based on what your output is. So once again, for social media, I may have started creating something for Instagram, but I also need something for Facebook, for Twitter, or for some other type of social media, social network, right? Or maybe I want to make this into a web banner. So by me going in and choosing a different layout, it'll auto reconfigure the design to look beautiful for that new size, all right? And then last but not least, when we are done, we can then share it everywhere. So where do you want to send this? What social media network do you want to post this to? Or I can go ahead and just save it out as a JPEG, and I have that now as an asset for other types of projects I would want to use. I also can take that project I've created earlier and build upon it for other projects later. So I don't have to kind of, once again, I might have liked something I've designed earlier, and then I want to kind of work from that. Now what about Spark Page? I mentioned this is kind of a web experience. Just like Post, you start with bringing in the elements that you want to convey your information. So it's primarily focused on creating a visual presentation, so lots of images can be supported here. I can also bring in video, and then combining that with text and formatting for your text in terms of different levels of headings and bulleted lists, links, and all that sort of stuff, right? So you kind of start with your layouts, different types of layouts for your images and graphics, and then it's all put to motion. These are all based on design templates that we've given you to work from, right? So we're kind of doing all the heavy lifting. You focus on what it is you're trying to convey. We're going to make it look awesome, all right? And then you go in, and as I mentioned, you have different themes you can choose from. I think right now there's up to 15 themes. We're constantly adding to this. And this combines the right font with the right design colors, with the right visual effects. And once again, everything's responsive, all right? And then I mentioned before that responsiveness means you can view that content. It's going to adapt it to the screen that's being used to view it, right? And then I can share it anywhere. What's great about once you create a Spark page is it creates a persistent link. So as that's been pushed out and published, either privately or I publish it publicly, it's something that I can continue to add to in terms of that project. In the last session, I had an error on one of my presentations. So I went in there, I was like, well, this is already published out to millions of people. Wishful thinking. But the reality is I was able to go back in there in 2 seconds, fix a typo, or in this case, add additional content, republish out. Everybody will now see the updated content. Right? So it's really nice for that persistence. The last thing I'll show you here is Spark Video. And this is really, once again, about really engaging through the video format. Right? It's a natural format, especially for students to consume and to learn. It's really about you not have to be a video expert, like these guys back here in the back of the room. Yeah, I called you guys out. This is really about creating a slideshow experience. What is it you want to convey? It could be a variety of images. It could be images and video. And then I have overlays on top of that where I can have text, I can have images, I can have graphics. And really you're kind of just compiling the story together. And it's going to do all the work in terms of making it look good, in terms of transitions. You have the ability to add soundtrack. You have the ability to do narration. On top of that, you have rich visual themes to do the motion graphics and effects. So it looks a very professional product when you're done with this. All right? And then once again, it's going to create a persistent URL that you can share out. We're doing all the hosting for you. You also can choose to download an MP4 that you can render to your machine. All right? And then you can use the MP4 and put it to some other site, Vimeo, YouTube, whatever, or embed it somewhere. Now, instead of just talking about how all this works, I want to show you a couple projects I built specifically for today's session. The first one's Post. You can kind of see I'm here in my project management. I've logged into Spark. It's spark.adobe.com, or just search for Adobe Spark. I'm actually logged in with my Creative Cloud account, but I can have a free Adobe account to use this tool, just like all the other applications I showed you earlier. And Spark has a very simple interface. Now, I've already kind of built on this little promo that I want to put out to social media. I grabbed this image from Rights Union off the web. I'm sure it's okay to do that. And then I added some text here. And I also add another text block. And notice I have all kinds of ability to go in and adjust things, and it's very contextual. You want to rotate this a little bit? Do you want to resize it, grab a corner? Do you want to swap out the image? Do you want to edit the graphic, right? And as I go and choose these things, notice I have my formatting options on the right. I even have this really cool style slider to let me kind of experiment. I like that. What do you think? Very much Guardians of the Galaxy-esque right there, right? So, but at any rate, I can have a lot of fun with this, but also, experiment and try different things out. And once again, under layout, this is where I can kind of reconfigure this to different types of output, right? You see all the social media options, you see social profiles, standard layouts, et cetera, et cetera. So this will reconfigure everything. So for example, if I want to go here to a Pinterest layout, it reconfigures it, right? Very, very quickly just by clicking on the button there. All right, next thing, I'm going to go back to my projects real quick. And this time, I'm going to show you a Spark page. I'll show you Spark video first. So Spark video, what I've done in this case is I've created I had a slideshow down here where I literally have, I chose a theme first of all. I'm going to go back to the Spotlight one because I think it looks better. All right, and it kind of sets the overall look and feel and the transitions. And then I was able to go in and say, you know what? I want to add an image here, but I could have chosen an icon. I could have chosen some text instead. I've also, under layout up here, could have said, you know what? I want to do a 2x2 layout. So I want two things next to each other. Or I want a thing and a caption. Right? So I have all kinds of different types of layout variations that create visual interest. In this second screen, I basically have a full screen image that kind of does a pan and zoom effect when I look at it. Over here, I chose two graphics. And these graphics, by the way, when I chose them, were done from a search where we have hundreds of thousands of royalty-free or Creative Commons images. Okay, I'm not letting you look back to choose from. And then, here's another example of 2x2, a nice headshot there, and a graphic. And then I have just a single text block here. I want to show you how this all came together at the end. So I'm going to do a preview real quick.
This year's Interface Conference takes place at Rights Union on Thursday, April 20th. Interface provides UF faculty the opportunity to network and share pedagogical best practices. This interaction, in turn, ensures the best teaching and learning outcomes for UF students. Dr. Edward Schaefer from the College of the Arts will show how to use existing online tools to teach anything. Dr. Christy Carter will discuss how to harness an expert online to best engage your students. These and many more exciting topics will be discussed on the second floor of Rights Union. You can register for UF Interface by using this link.
All right, just so full disclosure, probably not the best production, but I did do that in the dining hall while I was having lunch today in about 5 minutes. Boom. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, now what's really neat, though, is when you start pulling things together. So Post is nice because it's going to create a nice visual element, an image with various types of items overlaying it, right? Or it could just be the image itself, but primarily it's meant to do compositing, right? I have a text overlay, or I have a graphic. Video is awesome because I can quickly tell a story or have some sort of compelling visual experience through motion, right, with the animations there. The last one, though, is Post, is where, Page, is where everything kind of comes together. So here I created a web page that kind of pulls all those elements into a single experience. So I have kind of my cover image, right, and it's kind of got a little bit of a gradient over top of it, and then as I scroll through, then I can reference my video I just created in Spark Video. And then I have kind of the featured speakers. And then this is called a glide show. And these guys are doing some sort of chant, apparently, back here. And then I have the ability to kind of have a visual backdrop to kind of almost a picture-in-picture or sidebar type presentation. So here, I'm presenting Dr. Schaefer and his presentation. And I could have links to something here as well. I could have video that's embedded as part of this sidebar experience. So it really gives me a lot of flexibility in terms of how I want to arrange information. I could have buttons as well. In this case, I've linked at the very end to the program and your ability to register. So there's a lot of, obviously, the ability to kind of connect things and compile things into a single experience. And then the last thing I'll mention here as we wrap up to go to Q&A is that, just kind of the types of projects you can build with Spark. If I'm looking at it from kind of a project perspective, Spark Post is kind of more of your simpler project. So you need a graphic or an image or a quick poster, develop a meme or social media post. This is kind of the starting point to kind of build kind of building blocks of those visual elements. And then you have your, of course, Spark page where you can start compiling things together. So everything from digital pamphlets, reports, magazines, collections, books, AV presentations, TED Talks, speeches, websites, online portfolios, right? Some simple portfolio work you want to show. And then lastly, Spark Video, everything from podcasts, soundtracks, voiceovers. So you kind of find the right tool for the right purpose. Once again, I think this is just gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of the types of projects you can build. So with that, I think we're going to turn to questions. Thoughts, questions?
App for Android.
Coming. Yes.
Do you have a timetable on that?
This year. This year. I know it's something that they need. There's an issue with parity on that, unlike all the other apps. Yeah. So I lied to you, by the way. It's on film. Everything but Spark is on Android and iOS, but they are actually working on getting that hopefully sooner than later. But I'm hearing this year that you'll have the Android version. Hopefully by the fall, but don't hold me to that. Yes?
So images we find with all these Adobe products we can use it, no copyright infringement, things like that?
Yeah, so if you do a search from within our tools for images or icons, they are Creative Commons. And they've been vetted through that. And then another thing that's really nice is that if you do use these Creative Commons images, it does all the, at the very end of the kind of the credit sequence, it shows where all those items came from. And I just want to quickly mention the thing about the Android app. What I've shown you here for Spark is you're seeing the web application interface, which combines the ability to create different types of projects within a single, from the same screen. If you're using the mobile apps, there's a different app for each one of these types of output. What's great though is that if I start here, I can continue working on it here and vice versa. So where would that make sense? Maybe it would make more sense for me to do most of the textual work for a Spark page where I have a keyboard and not have to tap away. But if I want to start pulling in a bunch of images for a slideshow or some sort, or capture video and kind of pull it into a video project, then I have the better device right here to do that. Or maybe even for audio narration, I can start here and then work on the device where it's easier to capture live content or do a narration. So it does support sync back and forth for your projects to work wherever it is that it makes most sense. Any more questions? Dr. Schaefer, you like seeing yourself on the screen? No? Okay. Well, you were the first featured speaker, so I just grabbed you off the...
You're just fine. I'm flattered, but I didn't...
What do you want me to sing, though? How do you sing?
I want to hear one of your chants. Yeah, another question? So that's a great question. So Spark currently is only hosted online as a persistent URL. They are working with the next version of PDF that's coming out. It's going to literally have the ability to have HTML as part of a PDF experience. So that will be a future output as an offline deliverable. And that also addresses some of the questions we've had in the past about accessibility. The workaround right now for accessibility in terms of consumption of a Spark page is a Chrome plugin that flattens the experience into kind of a linear presentation that then a screen reader would be able to view. Or you could output the PDF as well, which is accessible. So that's kind of a workaround right now, but there'll be more of a direct accessible output, both in terms of the online output as well as the PDF output in the future. I know it's a very important topic.
Is there any closed captioning built in, or do you still have to go through a third party?
You have to do your own closed captioning. Perhaps, or maybe if you have video, for example, you would output to MP4 and then use Premiere Pro and OpenText. And that would create a really nice online deliverable for closed captioning in the web. So thank you, everybody. It was really nice meeting you. I have my cards up here. I look forward to our next date.